UFC on June 14th. It's going to be June 14th next year. The great Dana White's building an arena, and they're going to have 8 or 9 championship fights, the biggest fights they've ever had. Everyone's a championship fight.
You know, obviously everybody wants to fight on that card because we're going to put on the best card we've ever done for that White House event.
They're going to have the greatest champions in the world all fighting that night. There'll never be anything like this. There has never been, and there never will be anything like that.
So guys, in today's video I will be discussing just how underwhelming the UFC Freedom White House event, whatever it is called, just how underwhelming it is. And let's start off by looking at the fight card. You know, we got Ilia Topuria against Justin Gaethje, Alex Pereira against Cyril Gane, Sean O'Malley, Emil Zahabi, Ruffy, Chandler, Nickel, Dorcas, Lopez, Garcia, and then they added Josh Hokett and Derek Lewis. I mean, compared to what I just showed you a clip of Donald Trump saying that would be like 8 or 9 title fights. This is so underwhelming. I cannot believe it. And, you know, we should really be a lot more like angry at this matchmaking, because what the fuck are they doing? Bo Nickel against Kyle fucking Dorcas at like the White House. We got Emil Zahabi at the White House. What the fuck? What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje shouldn't be the fight. I get that Justin Gaethje is the interim, of course, the interim lightweight champion of the world, but we missed an opportunity to create the biggest fights, the biggest fight in UFC history, the biggest super fight, the greatest fight that MMA would have seen in its history. And that would have been, of course, Ilia Topuria against Islam Makhachev. I cannot believe that we are not getting this fight. I mean, Ilia Topuria seems to want it. I guess Makhachev doesn't want it as much as Ilia wants it. But still, I mean, come on. They should have been able to put this together at the White House. They call it the biggest event of all time. Let's be honest, it's not. This should have been like the biggest fight in UFC history. This could have been the 2 best guys, in my opinion, of all time. Maybe you know, John Jones, and he's in that conversation as well. But 2 guys in their prime going at it, like this would have been the biggest fight in UFC history. No doubt in my mind. I mean, you know, it's possible that like Conor and Khabib would have sold more pay-per-views. I don't give a fucking shit. This would have been a much bigger and better fight. You know, Islam Makhachev, in my opinion, is better than Khabib, and Ilia Topuria is a lot better than Conor McGregor. He is, you know, I believe that Ilia Topuria is MMA's chosen one. But this is like a 50-50 fight. You would have, you know, a lot of guys who would pick Islam Makhachev, you know, say that he could submit Ilia Topuria. You have a lot of guys, including myself, who says that, yeah, that could, because of course that could happen. Islam Makhachev is such a good grappler. He could submit Ilia Topuria, but Ilia Topuria also has the opportunity and the ability to knock out Islam Makhachev. No one should be doubting that. You know, these guys, I get that Makhachev has 1 loss on his record. He has been knocked out once, but he hasn't been knocked out since, right? He hasn't lost since. So this is basically like almost 2 undefeated guys in their prime, possibly the 2 best ever to do it in a super fight, and we missed out on that. So anyone being happy with Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje, you know, you're setting the bar too low. You're really setting the bar too low. This is what we should have been getting, right? Up next we have Alex Pereira against Cyril Gane, and I'm more content with this fight, to be honest. I get that it's a bit weird. It's a bit weird, isn't it? Because this should have been Alex Pereira versus Tom or versus John Jones, in my opinion, and we get Cyril Gane. And I get that Cyril Gane is, I wouldn't even say he's the most deserving, you guys, because, you know, look at Alexander Volkov, who, in my opinion, you know, not just in my opinion, that was a fucking robbery. Alexander Volkov beat Gane last year, right? So that should possibly have been Alex Pereira versus Alexander Volkov. I do believe that this is a more hyped matchup, exciting matchup. But the heavyweight division it's in a weird place right now, because you have Francis Ngannou over in MVP. You have John Jones, who is retired, or he says he's retired, and nobody seems to figure out what John Jones is actually doing right now. You have Tom Aspinall, who got poked in the eye, double poked in the eye by Cyril Gane. And let me be honest, guys, I can't stand Cyril Gane anymore. I can't stand that he's cheating in every fight, takes responsibility for absolutely fuck all. He doesn't take responsibility. He doesn't apologize. He says that Tom is faking and all of that, while he is deliberately, I believe, to a certain point, that you can make like fouls by accident, but I am not in no doubt that he is deliberately cheating at times. So I can't stand the guy anymore. Of course, everybody loves Alex Pereira. I hope that Pereira gets the win, but realistically, this should have been like 4 other guys rather than Cyril Gane. It could have been Volkov. I get why Cyril Gane is the more like why you want him there instead of Volkov. I get it, but it could have been Tom, it could have been John Jones, it could have been Francis Ngannou, but we'll get Cyril Gane. But of course, I somehow get why they're doing this instead, because of course, that's just circumstances. I believe that's circumstances, and of course, I would count this as a title fight. So we have 2 title fights on this fight card, while Donald Trump said something like 8 or 9, and later he adjusted it and said it would probably be 4 or 5, but we have 1.5 basically. I mean, you can count it as 2, but it's like 1.5. So fucking underwhelming. We have Sean O'Malley against Ayman Zahabi, and I know why they want this match. I know why they are making this fight. They want Sean O'Malley to ideally get a highlight reel finish to knock Ayman Zahabi out, so they can push him for the title shot, right? I get that, but why, UFC? Please, why? I just don't understand why, basically, because this could have been such a good fight card with like small adjustments, and this is one of them. If you were to put Sean O'Malley up against Corey Sandhagen instead of making Sandhagen Bautista, which is it's a decent fight. I mean, O'Malley versus Zahabi, decent fight, good fight. Sandhagen versus what's his name, Mario Bautista, good fight, decent fight. But realistically, you should have been like switching them around, so it would be O'Malley against Sandhagen and Bautista against Zahabi, right? There you have like more compelling, you have more compelling fights. And this could have been a great feature fight. This would have been a great feature fight. I just don't have my hopes that high for O'Malley against Ayman Zahabi. I think O'Malley will probably school him, be speed maxing in this fight, be outboxing him, outkicking him. Right. This fight would have been so much better, and this would have been a more like 50-50 fight than O'Malley against Ayman Zahabi. So, that's what I'm talking about. All of these small adjustments could have made this fight card so much better, and it wouldn't need like 5 title fights to be a great card. This would have been a great fight. On to the next, Mauricio Hufi against Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler is too fucking old, guys. What is he? 39, 40 years old at this point. Mauricio Hufi, he's fighting down in the rankings to fight Michael Chandler. Doesn't really make sense. I'm just gonna go over this pretty quick, you guys. Mauricio Rufy should be fighting up in the rankings. He should be fighting a guy like Dan Hooker, who is, I believe, 1 or 2 spots ahead of him in the rankings. That should have been the fight. You know, Dan Hooker, I get they do Michael Chandler because he's American. He's, you know, he's very much an American, to say. And he's entertaining, of course. But Dan Hooker is equally entertaining. And is probably more of a fan favorite than Michael Chandler at this point. This would be a fight up in the rankings for Mauricio Rufy and down in the rankings for Dan Hooker, as it should be, and not a fight down in the rankings for Mauricio Rufy and a fight up in the rankings for Michael Chandler, right? This fight should have been, this would have been so much more, this would be so much more interesting. So this would be a great fight. Bo Nickel, Kyle Daukaus, fucking delete that shit. We don't want Bo Nickel or Kyle Daukaus on this card. I don't get why the UFC are trying to push some of these guys like so hard. It's fucking cringe. It is. Bo Nickel has never been a fan favorite. I like the guy. I think he's delusional, of course, but I think that the UFC is doing a far worse job at getting him popular than he himself is. You know, putting him at main cards of numbered, you know, events from the start of his UFC career, and they are about to do the same with Gable Steveson, which I just cannot stand it, because Gable Steveson could just be like one of the future top guys in the heavyweight division, and they are already demolishing his career and his popularity by putting him on the main card of the McGregor card, right, of UFC 329. Delete this shit. And Kyle Daukaus, what the fuck? All right, they should have made Conor McGregor and Max Holloway fight at the White House instead. All right, there, I said it. This fight, it's finally official. It's finally official. It is in the welterweight division. I don't care what division it is. They should have been making this fight for UFC Freedom, right? They say they want to push it as being the biggest MMA event of all time. And they don't have John Jones. They don't have Conor McGregor on it. They have Ilia Topuria. They have Alex Pereira, and that's basically it, right? They have Sean O'Malley, but Sean O'Malley is not as big of a star as UFC would like him to be. They should have moved Conor McGregor and Max Holloway. They should have been making this fight a month earlier. All right, we have the fight. Everybody has seen it. Everybody knows that McGregor is returning. The one thing I could see about this fight that would make it like not that attractive to have on the White House event is that McGregor could pull out last minute. And I still need to see Conor McGregor in the octagon after the announcements before I really believe that he'll fight Max Holloway. But still, they could market this event a lot better with Conor McGregor on it. Moving on, Diego Lopez against Steve Garcia. Diego Lopez, of course, he's like somewhat of a fan favorite. He was a lot more of a fan favorite before he got the second Volkanovski fight, because that was a fucking undeserved fight. That's not Diego Lopez's fault, however. Still really like the guy. And I also really like Steve Garcia, and I think this will be a bang. This is the thing, guys. I think this will be a banger fight, but the name value is shit, because Steve Garcia, you know, no people that don't watch UFC like regularly know who Steve Garcia is, right? This should have been Diego Lopez against Yair Rodriguez. A lot of people know Yair Rodriguez. A lot of people know Diego Lopez, like in the UFC realm still. It's not like they are the biggest stars outside of the UFC, but but they don't have to be. They just have to be stars in the UFC. These guys have beef. I don't need to cover why these guys should be fighting, right? They have like this Brazilian thing, who is the most, Mexican, who is the most Mexican out of these two guys, which actually would be kind of interesting to see at the UFC White House, right? Who is the most Mexican and not American. So they already have beef from before. You know, Yair Rodriguez, I don't get why he is so inactive. It fucking kills me, because he is really interesting. Diego Lopez, really interesting. He fights more, but he is becoming a lot more inactive these years as well. But they should have made this fight instead of Diego Lopez and Steve Garcia. And I think that this fight could actually be more interesting and be better than Lopez and Rodriguez, Yair. But you know, for the sake of the beef and for the name value, like, this would be more interesting. This would have a better build up. Josh Yoka, Derrick Lewis, it's an American fight, I guess. They want like a trash talker. They want Derrick Lewis, and that's it. Okay, but it's not one of the like 8 or 9 title fights that Donald Trump said. The thing about this event, you guys, is that they promised it us. They promised us so much. They said this would be the biggest event of the UFC history. And of course, being at the lawn of the White House, it should be. But this is not the greatest fight card of all time. It just isn't. So these were my, like, I get that Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev is not a small detail, but some of these fights, I think, like, are fairly reasonable. Like making Mauricio Rufy fight against Michael Chandler instead. Fight Dan Hooker instead of Michael Chandler, and making Sean O'Malley fight Corey Sandhagen instead of Amin Zahabi, I think would have made the card so much better. So, but there you have my take, you guys. Please write down in the comments below what you think they should have done with this fight card, because this is, to me at least, this is a big pile of mess, to be honest. Remember to like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to the Submission Addiction for more MMA content. And I'll see you guys.